Hello everyone, it's Jan Nadamoto here. Hey, I just wanted to do a quick presentation on the vagus nerve and present to you my connection, the vagus nerve gut connection, brain gut connection, my take on it. There's been a lot of videos coming out on it. There's been a lot of talk on it. And there's even been a lot of books that I have noticed coming out on it. So I figured, I just want to do my own. All right. So I'm just going to go through what I normally do. I kind of give you guys the background. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I just had to do a lot of research on this. Okay, so if you want to get more information, by all means, there is a lot of information on the internet. All right, the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, let's see if I can get this going. The vagus nerve is also called the wandering nerve because vagus means wandering in Latin. It is the longest cranial nerve in the body. And this is an illustration, a very old illustration of the vagus nerve. And you can see, that's pretty extensive, right? Okay, so then vagus nerve is one of the 12 pairs of nerves in the brain, and it is labeled as pair number 10. It starts in the brainstem and ends in the colon. So I'm going to just give you some background information now. The nervous system is comprised of two systems: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord, right above, neck and above. The peripheral nervous system is comprised of the nerves outside of the brain and spinal cord. The central nervous system controls the activities of the body and helps to link the brain with other areas of the body, like the head, neck, and torso. Of these 12 cranial nerves, 3 are sensory, 5 are motor, and 4 are mixed nerves. So 3 pairs only sense things, and that includes things like details about smells, sight, taste, and sound. 5 are only involved in movement and control of movement. So various muscles and also the functions of certain glands. And 4 are involved in both movement and sensing. And they are all part of the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is comprised of the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. All right, so parasympathetic, the vagus nerve is part of the parasympathetic nerve system. It is responsible for the stimulation of rest and digest response to control homeostasis. Okay, so basically it helps with bringing our body back into balance, and it complements the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for stimulating activities associated with the fight or flight response. So the nerve, like I said, the parasympathetic, the vagus nerve is part of the parasympathetic system, and it's a mixed nerve, so it's involved in both movement and sensing. The sensory functions of the vagus nerve are divided into 2 components, which is somatic and visceral. Somatic means that these are sensations felt on the skin or in the muscles, providing somatic sensation information such as touch, pressure, temperature, cold or hot, warmth, pain, basically external. So the areas that the vagus nerve is connected to are things like the skin behind the ear, the outer portion of the ear canal, and certain parts of the throat. The visceral components, these are sensations felt in the visceral organs. So these organs are located in the cavity of the torso, which is chest, abdomen, and pelvis. And information is transmitted from these organs to the central nervous system. So we're looking at things like the larynx, esophagus, lungs, trachea, heart, and most of the digestive tract. And I want to just mention that if you look at this screen, that you'll see that the bladder and uterus, testes are included on this screen in the parasympathetic system, because they are part of the parasympathetic system, but they are not part of the vagus nerve system. So the vagus nerve does not extend out down below, down there. Okay, that's another nerve system, and it goes through the spine. Okay, so let's go deeper into what organs the vagus nerve branches out to. So as you can see, I mean, there's a lot. This is a lot of organs and glands that the vagus nerve is in contact with. So it goes from our head, right, all the way to our gut. I mean, and that's huge. So it's the things that it helps with, it does, like if you look up here, it says the lacrimal gland, and that helps with the lubrication of the eyes. And it stimulates saliva, providing continuous saliva so that our mouths doesn't get dry like mine is now. And also remember, we're talking parasympathetic. So when food is put into the mouth, the salivary glands are then activated to increase secretion of saliva. So the vagus nerve tells the brain, hey, there's food, so more saliva is needed. Also, we can't forget that our other senses play a role in activating the secretion of more saliva, like when we see food, when we smell it, those are activators too. It also helps slow the heartbeat when needed and is responsible for the resting heart rate. It constricts airways by causing the smooth muscles to tighten. And an example would be if a person has a hoarse voice, one possibility could be that the muscles are not tightening like they should be, which would affect the normal vibration of the vocal cords. It goes out to the lungs as well. It helps with breathing and calming. Pancreas, it inhibits the release of glucose. It stimulates the gallbladder because it has an influence over the flow of bile and pancreatic fluids into the duodenum. It also has a role in influencing the production and release of bile that is produced by the liver into the gallbladder. It stimulates activity of the stomach by releasing histamine, and histamine in the stomach plays a part in releasing stomach acid. It stimulates the activity of the intestine. It improves gut flow. So if the vagus nerve is not communicating well, then this may cause food to stay in the stomach longer, right? Because its nerves going to the stomach. It helps with the functioning of the kidneys, and is also connected to the spleen, which is the largest organ of the lymphatic system. It filters the blood of damaged cells, old blood cells, cellular debris, and pathogens. It also helps to manufacture red blood cells and lymphocytes. Now, how important is that, right? Okay, now remember that nerves carry electrical impulses that transmit information. So physically, the vagus nerve is key to our wellness because it is a communicator between the top of our head to our gut. It helps to bring things back to where they should be. However, we always need to take a look at the whole picture because we are dealing with so many systems and factors in our body. So, we've been talking about, oops, this is not going. So we've been talking about the brain this whole month in the Mindful Mondays. And actually, Dr. V has done a couple of extra presentations as well. So this, just falls in line with everything. And that's why I wanted to do this month. Because it is also the connection between the brain and gut, right? All right. So by now, with the talk that I did the other week about the ABCs of the brain, as well as a presentation by Dr. V and Dr. Kim, then we understand that the connection between the health of our cells, brains, nervous system, and everything else, right? I hope by now. All right. So I want to stop. Well, before I go on to that, I want to talk about this slide here. I put this up because I want you guys to take a look at where the vagus nerve is, right? And it goes from the base of your brainstem into your body. So a lot of us, right, hold our stress in our shoulders. And when we do that, there's a lot of pulling on our neck. There's a lot of contortions that we could actually go into if we do not get massages or work that tension out. So it could wreak havoc on your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is not going through your spinal cord, right? So when we think of nerves, we always think, I think, well, I used to at least, always think, okay, the nerves are going through the spinal cord, and that's what we really need to be mindful of. Well, no. Now we look at this and we realize, right, that the vagus nerve is external, and it could be easily damaged by what we do. So if we injure ourselves, right, we hit something, we could damage the vagus nerve. Yep. Okay. So, whoops. So now I want to stop here and talk about this in both the physical and metaphysical sense. So when I coach clients, I know when they really get it because they have a gut reaction. So let's think about this. The hypothalamus is key to homeostasis, right? The balancing of the body. That's in your brain. The vagus nerve communicates with the hypothalamus. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body. So when you're working through something and you get it, or when you have that huge aha moment, don't you feel it in your gut? I mean, I'm talking about huge aha moments and life-changing aha moments. When you get it and it's like, oh my God, right? And it's a showstopper, right? But it's a good one because now you get it. You're just feeling it in your whole being, right? And I'm going to go back to this, right? And why is this important? Because when you get it, right, that's the very bottom of the vagus nerve, right? And your mind is saying, oh my God, you got it. And zoom, right to your gut. Where does that vagus nerve go through? Good grief. It goes through your stomach, it goes through your pancreas, it goes through your spleen, it goes through your liver, your gallbladder, your lungs, heart, everything, right? So doesn't it stand to reason then? Now you got it. You've been working through something. You've been holding on to it. You didn't understand it, but now you understand it. So now you can release, right? So that's the metaphysical part of it. But if, I'm a medical intuitive, I'm looking at at the sense of energetic congestion, right? So if I get it, and I've been holding this in my liver, right? And now I get it. I can release that now because I fully get it. And that is the huge shift. And that's why I wanted to do this, because it just made so much sense to me, right? That your brain now, and now you can come into your hypothalamus can say, okay, relax. Now our emotions are in check. The vagus nerve says, sends all that information back down to your lungs, your heart, all your organs, or the organs that are listed here. And it puts it into a more relaxed state. Your vagus nerve now is happier. Right? Where do you carry stress? You carry stress in your stomach. And what nerve is associated with your stomach? The vagus nerve. And where does it go to? It goes to your brain. So it tells your brain, the hypothalamus, things are going on here. So do this, this, and this, right? And are you in homeostasis at that point? No, you're not, right? So this is why there's been also, not this is why, but there's is also why there's been so much talk about the vagus nerve. Because if the cycle is such that the vagus nerve is sending certain signals to the brain, and the brain is then sending out other signals to the rest of the organs in the body, well, there you go, right? And like I was saying, if we are under chronic stress, the entire digestive process can become compromised. When we stop producing proper levels of bile, right, which is required to break down fats, the smooth muscles along our GI tract don't contract on time. And then we don't properly enter the rest and digest phase. And this can cause things like what they call hypermotility or gastric dumping, right? And we see that in diagnosis, like irritable bowel symptoms, right? Irritable bowel, and other autoimmune conditions. And then, I'm going to go into a little bit about the adrenals, because if you're stressed constantly, your stress response is overstimulated, and then you're in sympathetic overdrive. And this makes your adrenals pump out more cortisol, which exhausts the adrenals and create an imbalance of hormones. So this is why you need your vagus nerve functioning at its best in order to balance and heal, right? So it all goes back to homeostasis. Be mindful, be present. This relieves stress and could help with digestion. Of course, eating well, so your stomach is working well. Go and listen to Dr. V's oxidative stress talk. Contact us about why we're so hot on this NRF1 and NRF2. Because right now, with what we're going through, we need it. We really need to be ready for what's coming. I said it, for what's coming. I know people have said a lot of things in the past years, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting. Nothing's come. Well, I don't know, things happen. If you take a look at what's happening around you, changes that people are going through, I think you might see something more than meets the eye. Okay, so anyway, to help the vagus nerve, you can do things like meditate, laugh, of course, exercise. So do some deep belly breathing. Now, you know, you used to always hear people say, okay, you should like do some, you should do your meditation, or you should do your deep breathing. Well, why? To relax you. Well, why? Right? But now for me, I understand why I'm doing it now. So it makes more sense to me, and I would probably be more mindful to do these things. And you've seen, right, let's go back to that. The outline of the vagus nerve, right? So now you, and you know what organs they're attached to. So now you know why deep breathing can help the vagus nerve, right? Can stimulate it. And they also say, well, splash cold water on your face. Well, okay, that all makes sense now, because look at where the vagus nerve goes in your face, right? I mean, it's there, it's external and internal, right? It's visceral, your visceral organs too. Okay, and then they also say to gargle loudly with water or whatever you're gargling with. Gargle loudly, because it stimulates the trachea, right? That makes sense to me. They say to sing loudly. I talked about having a hoarse voice, right? And that's part of the whole thing, right? You are exercising those muscles. You're stimulating the vagus nerve. Now, other people might not enjoy that, right, around you. So I will continue to practice that in my car on my own or when I'm in the house by myself. But I love that one, right? I love it. And I would also invite you to check out some of the acupressure points, you know, like the large intestine, point 17 and 18. They run right alongside the vagus nerve in the neck. Let me see right here. Right. Well, I can't show it to you, but it does run along that. And take a look at some of the other meridians, right? Just get that flowing, get it going, right? If you're questioning that, well, just take a look at, like, let's see, the meridians that run through the body for these certain organs, right? The large intestine, small intestine meridian, the kidney meridian, right? The heart meridian. You can stimulate the vagus nerve through those meridians as well. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation. I just wanted to get it out there, get my passion out there, and just share with you how important, on the flip side, on the other side, how important the vagus nerve is. And, you know, I don't know if many of you know, but my website is thatahamoment.com. And this is why I wanted to do the gut-brain connection thing, because this is what I tell everyone, well, most everyone, if it applies, right? That when you feel it in your gut and you get it, then shit, you get it and you're good, right? Because I know that you're feeling in so many parts of your body, in your emotion, in your brain, in your body, in your stomach, your chakras. I mean, you get it, right? So I hope that you enjoyed that little talk. And until next time, take care.